Let me check the audio, make sure that we're being able to do this correctly. Yep. So, this will be the last installment of the Twitter trilogy, the classic series in which we discussed all of the ramifications of the buffoonery that took place on Friday. You say hello to Winter, give him a little greeting. Um, I at first thought I was going to have this big, huge, wondrous gathering of clips and tricks, but I decided that would take too long. Now, I one particular request for anyone who sees this, whether you're a Twitter user or you just use YouTube or you use Facebook or Instagram, wherever the hell. Make sure that you share this with as many people as you possibly can. That is a very unique request by myself because I never ask anyone who sees my stuff to share it and put it around. It's very important that gets around, in spite of what people think of it. I really couldn't care less at this point. But we're gonna read an article, we're gonna watch a video, and then we're gonna have an analysis. This should take probably, let's see, okay, good, Amino. Yeah, this should probably take about 20, 30 minutes. So this article is from The Verge, and its headline is Twitter keeps losing monthly followers, monthly users, so it's going to stop sharing how many. Now, before I read this, because I'm a big believer in transparency, I'm not like Twitter. I don't just suspend you and then not tell you why I got rid of you. You just have to guess. I'm going to share the link to the article in the chat, so anyone who sees this in the replay can see that same link. So this isn't fake news or an article that I concocted, because people have all kind of weird theories in their heads. So let's continue. Twitter's monthly user count has fallen for 3 quarters in a row. So to address the issue, Twitter has decided to stop announcing how many users it keeps losing. How'd they do that? The change, which begins after next quarter, was announced in Twitter's latest earnings release, where the company, oh, this little thing popped up in a way, disclosed that it had lost another 5 million monthly users during the final few months of 2018. That brings Twitter to 321 million monthly users, down from 326 million the prior quarter. It's Twitter's lowest user figure in 2 years. That doesn't sound good for business. Hiding monthly user growth or losses prevents Twitter from being directly compared to many other social networks, some of which are growing far faster in their monthly user count. Facebook, for instance, added 49 million users last month. It is a complete embarrassment when Facebook is able to brag about having a leg up on any of these other uh, giant websites, because they've been you know, basically turning into MySpace 2.0 for the last maybe 2, 3 years. So that's really embarrassing. Uh, it also hides a number that hasn't been looking good for Twitter for a while. Even before the figures start declining, Twitter's monthly user count had only seen creeping gains in the prior couple years. So this is even further back. Keep in mind, I didn't read this article before starting the stream. I just saw the title and then read like the first piece and okay, that's worth including. In place of monthly users, Twitter will now disclose how many daily users it has, a figure that, at least from this initial discourse, is at least slightly rosier. Twitter now has 126 million daily users, up from 115 million 1 year ago. Similar to monthly users, growth is slow in the US, with about 10 million users, and that jump coming from other countries. Now, that other countries part is going to be very significant later on when I play the video that I've selected to add to the stream. We'll get to that after this. Other companies disclose their daily user count, but Twitter has put a small twist on its own metric. It's referring to them as MDAUs, or monetizable daily active users. This figure only counts people who use Twitter's website or app to access the service on a daily basis. Twitter seems to be indicating that other companies do not distinguish between daily users who can and cannot be monetized. That said, it's not entirely clear that other daily users counts are not largely, if not exclusively, composed of monetizable users, since most other services don't have the wide range of integrations and third-party apps that Twitter does. So what they're saying is they set up a little snag way to make sure that people don't know the actual number of users that are in place. Snapchat this week reported having 186 million daily users. Instagram announced having more than 500 million daily users over a year ago. So while the daily user figure does look better for Twitter, it isn't exactly a sign of runaway success. It's smaller than competitors' daily user counts, and its growth rate has declined or stalled in 3 out of the last 4 quarters. Hmm. Yeah, Instagram is actually, I'd say, the only one of these social media sites that seems to be expanding and getting better as far as its success and whatnot. All the other ones are just kind of like dying out and fizzling. The monthly user decline is largely of the company's own doing. Twitter has suggested in recent quarters. Twitter started losing users in the spring after cracking down on bots and spam. Now, that spam part is also significant because since they didn't tell me what the reason was for the account suspension, I started, just hypothesizing. I actually have a Twitter user I've talked about before by the name of Jennifer, who is an ardent opponent of the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen that the U.S. supports, and she was talking about the, how I could have possibly gotten in trouble from a whole myriad of things. Whether it was sharing the same link over and over again. By the way, I just want to make something clear. If I post a comment in my chat right now that says, "Hi, my name is JD," and then I put the link for this article right after that, and I followed it up by saying, I think everyone should enjoy this conversation and hit the like button. And then right after that, I still have the link for that video in the second message. That's not spam because those two messages are not identical. They have the same link, yes, but again, anyone who thinks that spam is using their own weird interpretation. Um, but look, this article confirms they've been on a crunch for users. They've resorted to sleazy, weird tactics to make it seem as if they're more successful than they actually are. And we actually have a video we're going to play with I believe it's the founder. It's one of the top guys from Twitter. I really don't care about their leadership or their history, but this is significant because it is it has commentary that I think is essential to understanding my gripe with this place. Uh, for those of you who aren't familiar with Jimmy Dore, he's a progressive uh, political commentator. And let me skip over this stupid advertisement, make sure that people can get their coins and we can continue. All right, here we go.
So this was Jack Dorsey when he was on with Joe Rogan the first time. And here he's going to admit that the use of Twitter and social media is actually a right. And I just want to play it for you.
Otherwise, everyone has a right to these technologies. And I think they also have a right to make sure that they have a very simple and open read of the rules. And
so if everyone has a right, if it's a right, which is what he just said, I'm not putting words in his mouth, I'm not taking him out of context. He said it's a right, and another thing is you have a right to know what the rules are. Well, if it's a right, we already know what the rules are. There's a thing called free speech in the United States. We already know what those rules are. You don't have to make up new ones. Why you're making up new ones is is mind boggler to me, because if it's a right, why do you think that you're allowed, you and your friends, to then just you're allowed to decide who gets to have that right, and you get to make up the rules? We already have rules. So that would be the first thing I would say. Now you nail them, kind of, or I don't know, nail them. You actually make this point in a very strong way that they don't have a comeback for. I'm going to show you doing that, but that's the jumping off point. And that's what people, I think, miss. So if you have the guy who's the head of Twitter admitting that it's a right, and I don't think I'm overstating it, I'm just repeating what he said. So now if you think so now if you want to take away someone's right in real life, like their freedom of speech, there's a court proceeding. Absolutely. There's a transparent court proceeding that's adversarial, meaning you get to see the evidence against you. You get to confront your accuser, and everyone gets to see it happen publicly, and you have an impartial judge,
or
right?
jury of your peers.
Or a jury of your peers. None of that they just get to decide randomly in the middle of the night, whatever. Like Facebook made up Facebook just made up rules to get rid of in the now, or
billionaires and millionaires, an unelected council of the world's wealthiest individuals determining who does or doesn't have a right to speak.
Yeah, and that's the part. I think that's what I was wishing someone was there to say that to him then. And that's what I would say to Jack. And by the way, Jack Dorsey seems like he's acting in good faith. And if he could figure out a way to get this over with, he would. But there's no way to get this. The problem is there's no way to get this over with, because at the end of the day, Jack Dorsey, and as you point out, and his team of lawyers or whoever it is, they're unelected, unaccountable. They get to do whatever they want and make up the rules as they go. And if it's really a right, that shouldn't be allowed.
But you know what I think it is?
And this is something I was talking about in yesterday's stream. These various individuals in charge of this website want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to go, oh, this is a public place that, everyone can register for and participate in the conversation. But if we don't like something you say, we're going to get rid of you. And we can do that because we made this. This is ours. Except we have politicians on here and we claim to believe that this is a right. And yet we're somehow deciding that your rights can be taken away by us like that without explanation. I actually made a mistake yesterday. I did not post the message that they sent me back in email after I had sent them the appeal, the generic piece of trash that they replied back to me with. Let me say hello to BVS. Let's roll the red carpet.
Because I made this video earlier, before we recorded. Twitter's losing users, and so they changed their metrics to make it look like they're gaining users. They're not. Their monthly users are down. Their daily users are up. All that really means, when daily users go up, it means the people who are already on the platform are using it more.
Right.
Monthly users going down means their user base is shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack is.
Oh, what did he just say? Let's hear that again. What was that?
Their metrics to make it look like they're gaining users. They're not. Their monthly users are down. Their daily users are up. All that really means, when daily users go up, it means the people who are already on the platform are using it more.
Right.
Monthly users going down means their user base is shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying that the same couple of people that are on there are being more active, and new people are kind of, a little difficult to get to.
Jack is it the way, I wish I would have looked into this a little bit more before going on. Jack's probably thinking, how do we make more users come to the platform? He's talking about global users too.
Yes.
That means he doesn't care about American law. He cares about getting more users anywhere so his advertisers can, will come to the platform and make money. One of the challenges is, if the United States says we're going to regulate this platform and you have to uphold free speech, and then all of a sudden a bunch of Nazis come in, when the advertiser says we don't care anymore and there's no money for Twitter, and Twitter gone. So I see him. He's in a rock and a hard place.
Right.
But at a certain point, I was on the Dave Rubin's show, and I said, at this point, maybe the government needs to come with a sledgehammer, simply because it's negatively impacting our culture and our elections. And I don't care about his profit. He has no right to user growth. I do have a right to influence my own elections. So maybe the sledgehammer needs to come down on them.
So that's the point that people are missing, that once your private company now is affecting our culture or controlling it or influencing it, now it's in our public interest to regulate that business. And that's okay. That doesn't, by the way, the rules of capitalism weren't written by Jesus, right? People that that somehow a free market exists in nature. No, markets are invented by guys who have shit to sell, and they need rules to protect themselves. Even that's a free market. There's no such fucking thing. That's just an idea that when economists use free market, it's not actually what normal people think a free market is. It's totally regulated free markets. That has nothing. The free is a misnomer. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say let's go back in time as far as possible to the first few transactions, the beginning of capitalism. The regulation was, if you lie to me when you sell me this, I'll come back and punch you in the face. there's a rule that was understood between cultures that you could trick someone and maybe get away with it, but there would always be some kind of ramification. Maybe you don't sell ever again.
Mhm.
There's a cooperative system that works within the confines of understanding how the currency is transacted. Now, I lean a little bit more to the left on the issue. So I wanted to point this out earlier. When people refer to left and right, there's a cultural and an economic scale for left and right, and on both I lean a little to the left. But economically, we need the government to step in. Absolutely, I believe the government supersedes the corporations hands down. If you want to be a corporation, you get permission from the government for the obvious reason of someone's going to sell you, turpentine and tell you it's chocolate milk,
Right.
and then you die.
Right.
So obviously that's an extreme exaggeration. All
Right.
the laissez-faire capitalists are like, you're misrepresenting us. But no, we've seen the rivers burst into flames. We know why we need the rules in place.
There's a reason why they had to put some guys go, oh no, we don't need regulations. People will just they'll videotape it with their phone, and it's like, no. Do you understand? We've been through this. That's why we have these protections built in already.
But look at who's getting banned, right? So I personally believe, based on everything I've seen, you're more likely to see conservatives banned than liberals. However, the liberals that do get banned, who are they? Anti-war. Activists from Occupy Wall Street were banned.
Hey, I will plead guilty to being anti-war and to send not only that, but to sending out multiple hundreds, possibly thousands of tweets that were directed against U.S. interventions in multiple countries. Hands down, I'm guilty as charged. Now, I'm going to keep playing this, and there's more stuff in there that is basically, I'm going to lead you into my theory of why I was gotten rid of, and then you'll be able to understand that when you hear this, or you'll at least see where my hypothesis is deprived from what is being said here.
Anti-war left band.
Yes, that's a great point, Tim. And I get smeared on the regular by these pro-war corporatists on Twitter, and there's no protection for me on there.
Supporting the mainstream corporate Democrats.
Yes.
The people who are...
And they lie. They just blatantly lie about me, and there's nothing I can do about it. Go ahead.
There's a Reddit thread where it was a liberal Reddit thread, and they said anyone supporting Bernie, and then they put in parentheses, AKA Trump 2020, will be banned immediately. And they would rather have... Look, I'm a moderate, and I believe you can have a moderate Democrat, a center-left Democrat, or even someone closer to Bernie, who's not going to be a pro-war corporatist, who's going to support the military-industrial complex, send troops on the ground into Venezuela and Syria and other countries, bomb Yemen, commando raids in Yemen. My biggest criticisms of Trump are he's pushing forward with the imperialist tactics of the presidents of yesteryear.
He was a pretender. He pretended to be a non-interventionist.
I have multiple tweets where I told both self-described Trump supporters and self-described Democrats that I did not care about Trump being in office because we were still bombing Syria, we were still bombing Afghanistan, Libya, Pakistan, Somalia, Iraq, Yemen, and I criticized him for doing this now and his predecessors for doing this in the past. And I cite this as an example of how things really aren't that different. And the point where they're talking about how they were going after people that critique centrist Democrats, in that last 24 hours before my account got yanked, they had I believe it was the second night of the Miami Democratic debate, and I put out multiple tweets mocking a large portion of what could be considered the centrist group that was on stage. So, again, coincidence, sure.
He just wants his own
wars.
wars.
They always do.
He wants to get out of Afghanistan and Syria because they're not his wars, and he wants his own way. He wants to go into Iran, and he wants to go into Venezuela. Yep. He wants his own way. He's a psychopath just like the rest of them. And we're talking the mafia is the United States as usual.
This is why I will freely admit Obama was one of the most charismatic presidents that, at least in my lifetime.
Sure.
But what did he do? He loaded a bunch of drones and bombed a bunch of military-age young men and then called them combatants.
Yep. No, he was the... If people, and I've said this on the show, if people knew what Barack Obama actually did, they would be screaming bloody murder. And because what he actually did led us right to Trump. when you don't prosecute, first of all, when you don't prosecute war criminals, that guarantees you're going to have more war crimes.
Absolutely.
Right now, the head of our CIA is a freaking a war criminal. So and that's the least of it. By the way, Barack Obama not prosecuting. But if you read the book "Listen Liberal" by Thomas Frank, that's what radicalized me against the Democratic Party, and that they're unsalvageable. The things that Barack Obama could have done without people always try to say, well, he was thwarted at every attempt by the Republican Congress. Barack Obama admitted to himself, to us, on video, and I have it, I'll play it for you, that he was a moderate Republican. He said, people say that I'm a socialist. He goes, that's funny because if you looked at my policies, they would be considered moderate Republican. He is admitting that he's pushing moderate Republicans. So now people think we had 8 years of a lefty.
Yeah.
We didn't. We had 8 years of Mitt Romney, who looked like Barack Obama.
And I don't.
And that's what we had. And so now, when people go to vote in 2016, we had 8 years of lefty policies that didn't. But we didn't have 8 years of lefty policies. We had 8 years of right-wing policies that were dressed up. He's the beard for the corporation. That's what Barack Obama was.
I gotta be honest. I think all of them are.
Yes, they all are. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama. But they would rather have Barack. Why do you think Barack Obama got more money from Wall Street than John McCain? Because they needed a salesman, and Barack Obama's a salesman, and John McCain can't sell shit. They love Barack Obama. He did exactly everything they wanted. He made the banks bigger. He kicked everybody out of their houses.
I'll say this: I am very critical of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because
okay.
But I'm saying that because when she got elected and when Trump got elected, my reaction was a large guttural laugh, just laughing because the establishment was losing. I don't like Trump at all.
Me neither.
But Hillary Clinton getting knocked down from, how she stole it from Bernie, I just laughed. I'm like, you reap what you sow. You could have had Bernie Sanders and there would have been a Democrat in office.
I also had tweets mocking her as well, just to point that out.
But you wanted it so bad, you cheated, and now you get Trump. And it's on them. It's on the corporate, Goldman Sachs. Some of the things that make me the most angry. So when Cortez won, it was the same thing. The long-time incumbent corporate Democrat, fourth in power, was knocked down by some young kid, and I just laughed.
We're announcing our dates for 2019.
Well, that's the end of that. But listen, I wish you could have seen it. I almost wish I could have had a camera as I was projecting these thoughts. I sat here for what must have been 2 very frustrating days, hypothesizing, attempting to figure out, making all kind of conclusions, because I couldn't square up why the most obvious reason for me getting messed with, which was, posting the same link in various tweets over and over, why that would take 10 months to mess with. And my colleague stated that they had made some new rules supposedly. But in this interview that you just watched, or this video that was played of Jimmy and one of these commentators, they were talking about how Republicans are more likely to get messed with than Democrats on Twitter. But another group that's likely to get targeted as well are progressives that critique and make fun of centrist Democrats. And that's not only, applicable to particular politicians, but to particular policies as well. And, I really sat here thinking, oh man, they must have gotten mad because this link was posted over and over again. But now I see they were angry because I posted tweets saying that people need to stop drinking Netanyahu jizz, supporting the Israeli government to a T, supporting a literal genocide in Yemen. And, they're completely fine with those types of things going on. So, they're not going to get mad at the people who support those policies. They're going to get pissed at someone like me because, it's against their corporate interest to have that view reflected on their website. And listen, I know how these places work when certain pressure is put on them. So let's say in some hypothetical, they did ever respond to my inquiry as to why I was gotten rid of, you know what they would say? Oh, well, we didn't like that he posted the same link over and over. No, you idiots sat back and did not say anything nor get upset for 10 months on an almost daily basis of me writing all kinds of different tweets and just sticking the same link in there to promote various videos. You had no issue with that. I got 2 account locks, and you literally you just wake up one day and then your stuff is yanked. So, we don't believe that. I am firmly convinced now after hearing that interview, and I'm gonna say hello to Mark. He's just woken up and finally, getting some eggs and other breakfast type items. I am firmly convinced after listening to that particular piece that you just heard, that video, that my anti-war, anti-centrist Democrat views, which were articulated by, I had over 22,000 tweets, which were articulated in literally thousands of tweets, were the reason and the only reason I was screwed with by these people. It makes perfect sense. It goes along with what was stated there, and their business partners are gonna look on something like that as being desirable. See, the thing with my particular ideology is that when they mess with right wingers, they get pressure because, as a, you know, let's just come out and say it, social media site that is trying to, businesses are always seeking to get as many people as possible to take some kind of interest in their thing, or their website rather, product and items. So they can't afford to appear homophobic, transphobic, really just against any particular group. And no one's asking to do that. But when they get rid of conservatives, it makes them seem as if they oppose a political ideology that is well defined as not being in line with the one that is considered more politically correct. When you mess with progressives, people like me who go, hey, stop drinking that Netanyahu jizz. Hey, stop, committing this genocide in one country and bombing 6 other ones. After saying that you were different from the previous presidents. Things like that are a subtext of left-leaning ideology that can be gotten rid of and not missed, because you still allow the people who are going resist Trump to sit up there and spew out that non ideology, um, singular to a person thing. When they, I guess what I'm saying is that when they go around and they talk about Trump and just him and whatever, it's stuff that's considered acceptable targets. The immigration policy, uh, a couple of economic things here and there. But when you go out and you say, hey, you need to stop bombing all these different countries, you need to break up the banks, you need to overturn Citizens United, they lose their minds behind those keyboards. And, I'm sure one might say to yourself, that's a crazy interpretation of how these people work. But you got to ask yourself, what kind of legitimate real world company is going to set up a system where they want to be taken seriously, like their customer service as a thing that people should believe is real and functioning, and then not have a phone number you can call them at. I'm still sitting here staring at that piece of garbage email they sent me, talking about multiple violations and don't ever send us anything again or else we won't monitor it. I mean, I really actually do want to send them something making fun, because what are they going to do? Ban the ban? It's really incredible that I can sit here month after month and get screwed with for opposing a war just in a tweet, right? But then the people who actually are going around doing crazy things in real life, oh, they can make accounts because they're not, like, you let OJ on there, but not me. The guy that the majority of Americans believe murdered 2 people is able to sit on there and tweet stuff because that doesn't disturb the status quo or speak truth to power or anything. People are spiritually bad. Just because you have a different position that doesn't align with the democratic narrative, shaken. Yeah, and look, what I'm saying, Mark, is that if this, which I've asked people to share this video, and I know maybe when a fresh one, and everybody else will just be like, I'm good. I don't usually make that request, which is why I would consider it to be taken seriously when I ask for it. But look, I guarantee you that if they were ever put up to specifically define the reason for my termination on there, they would tell you something that they've thought of in retrospect of the claims that are being made here. they go, oh, it's because he kept posting that link. Oh, look, again, you just heard the video where they're talking about how my particular anti-war, anti-neoliberal, like it's not a coincidence that that within hours of that stupid debate where I made fun of multiple centrist members of the Democratic Party, that happened. That's not like, oh yeah, this person was driving in a car and then somebody else was flying a plane and they got the thing mixed up and they just happened to have this crash collision that no one could have ever anticipated. No, no, that was a scripted thing that they did to highlight we're not tolerating this in this election cycle. Let me tell you something. If I posted that link every day and I was saying, "Hey everybody, how you doing? Oh, that's nice. Oh, cool." I'm now about 99% sure I wouldn't get messed with. And if they did, it still wouldn't be, it would be because they're aware of my presence on other sites where I can speak about how stupid they are with with a lesser fear of repercussion. Really ask yourself, is this the kind of world you want to live in where these social media sites want to be considered public venues as the creator or the seat, whatever the hell he is, admitted it was a right for people to have access to this particular site. But then when you say something they don't like, they just yank you off of there. Jimmy had another video where he was talking about how they should, and he'd mentioned that in this video as well, the need for them to have a transparent adversarial system where they actually, sit people in the courtroom, show some evidence, and give some kind of neutral arbiter the rationale for getting rid of someone on there. And that really that's an idea that makes so much sense that it's considered crazy, because as he defined in the video I played yesterday, uh, when you have people that go to prison, they're sentenced to felony, all this different stuff. You have a court process. The cops just don't go, well, this person will be locked up for 88 years. It's not their job to do that. And it shouldn't be the job of moderators on the websites to say, well, we don't like the position this person has. Uh, let's yank them off here, as we claim our website is a public service and of a right of people. Shouldn't be that way. Now, the other thing to pay attention to here is that they've actually shown in that article that you can still see, it's linked in the chat room, how this website has tried to pretend it's doing better, when, as the person that was speaking in the video mentioned, that wasn't Jimmy, whose name I'm blanking on at the moment, they have more activity, yes, but it's coming from people who are already on the website. So that means more and more people are just either getting fed up with there, or for reasons unknown to me that we can have fun speculating on, just not using it altogether. I know for myself, I don't, you gotta understand something. I can tolerate a website messing with me if they give a rationale, they give some warnings, not the kind of, catch you by the blind side, you're out of here routine that was done on Friday. And I don't really see where I would feel encouraged from having that type of experience with this place to really want to do business or give it any more of my time afterward. And look, I'll be the first one to admit Twitter had its uses for me. It was somewhere I could share stuff, get the word out about certain things a little bit more. I'm not one of these people that's going to pretend as if once something has burned me that it was this useless thing and completely devoid of any redeeming qualities. But it's run by corporate clowns who are against free speech. And I don't remember if it was in the video, but there's a part where they were talking about how, in attempting to push their websites into being a global force, referring to Twitter's, powers that be, they basically said, because free speech is defined in the U.S. Constitution, screw that piece of paper. We're going to pay attention to the positions and views of countries like Saudi Arabia, where free speech is banned, or somewhere like Russia where freedom of the press is a joke. So what I'm saying is I'm looking at this from the US perspective of I have free speech. They're looking at this from the worldwide perspective of this isn't really in your jurisdiction to decide. Just in general, people, whether online or offline, have, let's see, love attacking people for having a different opinion or a position. A very sad society we live in. But again, they have conservatives on there that they won't mess with, who go around spreading all kind of misinformation and just weird stuff. And I don't think they should get rid of them. But again, you know, they let them basically, they don't see them as a threat. They don't see them as like really disrupting the worst thing they'll do is say the Democrats have some kind of they have a thing called liberalism is a mental disorder or whatever. That doesn't bother any established order. When you go around and you say, I want you guys to repeal the Patriot Act, or I want you to get rid of the NDAA 1021 so journalists can't be thrown in jail, or rather people can't be thrown in jail without being charged. Uh, those are the types of tweets and statements that freak them out because they do not want perspectives that are well informed being spread on their site. I guarantee you, if I went on there right now and said Trump is a clown who will, be impeached or what, no one would, no Twitter's executive or person of high esteem or authority would do anything to me. But if I go on there and I say the U.S. needs to stop giving Israel billions of dollars per year, they don't want that. That hurts their bottom line. And people should be freaked out about this stuff. I'm really glad that I took the position I did with Jones, where I was saying that it was dangerous to let these public form social media websites decide we're going to get rid of this one person, because it was a dangerous precedent. Uh, and it was the same thing with Julian Assange. I was someone who supported him not getting tried by the U.S. because he was a whistleblower who revealed to us evils of our own government. Those positions are not because I have some fondness or love or admiration for those two men. It's simply because I can see with some, and I'm not trying to sound as if I'm some great wonderful figure, but I like to believe I have a slight ability of foresight. So Twitter getting rid of this guy over saying something people didn't like, whether you agree with it or not, and I didn't, isn't really that different from them getting rid of me for saying something that some other people didn't like. And no one's got a problem with it, because I am an unknown person. I am a person who I have a small group that likes to watch my stuff. I've expressed appreciation to them multiple times. But you gotta understand, a lot of these events build off of each other. As I said before, if I received, let's say I have a 2,000 subs, let's say a fourth of my subs watching my stuff regularly, like 500 views on average, would have never went on Twitter. Would have never used it as a promotional arm, because the entire point of going on there was to attempt to get other people to basically, through viewing my stuff, make amends for a bunch of dead, fake, whatever other term we're going to use to describe inactive subs. So, this is this is one thing that's built off of the other. And you can go and look at the Twitter rules until you're blue in the face. They have no rule about you can only post a link X amount of times. I checked. But even if I were to believe, and that still is the thing I wanted to believe, was because it just made the most sense, like in terms of how you could believe something is spam, even if it wasn't, according to the dictionary definition. I know we're using the internet crybaby CEO definition, which is completely, opposite. But I wanted to believe that was the reason, because it at least gave some kind of subtext to what was going on. If this is truly about my political views, which I'm convinced it is, you are looking at a site that is basically saying pretty much the only way I can go on there and not expect to get shut down over having an opinion that doesn't go along with the people running that place is if I win office. It really seems like you have to have some kind of protective bubble to stop you from being, gone after by these invisible pricks. So to close this out, you're going to see me live respond to the last message that Twitter sent to that email that was attached to that account. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to read you whatever I write back as I write it. And that'll be our thrilling conclusion. I didn't want to make this another neoliberal power hour because I'm trying to reserve those for the weekends. Let's see here. Remember to log into this thing. I don't use it for any other purposes. That's not entirely true. I'm not actively going in this email over anything else. Okay, so let's reread the wonderful, very informative message that they wrote me. Hello, we're writing to let you know that your account has been suspended due to multiple or repeat violations of our rules. Please do not reply to this email or send us new appeals for this account, as we won't monitor them. Thanks, Twitter. Okay, and I'm going to say in response, I can reply all I want. Your website is run by warmonger supporting clowns that would rather get upset with me for stating an opinion than with their own government for supporting the deaths of thousands of people across the world that were the direct result of their sorry excuse for a government. I guess that atones for your sorry excuse for a website. Enjoy your lessening user base and anti-free speech admins, no moderators. I was going to use admins. I use admins. Okay. All right, let's read this. I can reply all I want. Your website is run by warmongers supporting clowns that would rather get upset with me for stating an opinion than with their own government for supporting the deaths of thousands of people across the world that were the direct result of their sorry excuse for a government. I guess that atones for your sorry excuse for a website. Enjoy your lessening user base and anti-free speech admins. Also, learn how to tell someone what they did wrong instead of being keyboard cowards who can't articulate their own brain absent decisions. I'm not going to say, I'm going to say rest in stupidity. Okay, I can reply all I want. Your website is run by warmongers supporting clowns that would rather get upset with me for stating an opinion than with their own government for supporting the deaths of thousands of people across the world that were the direct result of their sorry excuse for a government. I guess that atones for your sorry excuse for a website. Enjoy your lessening user base and anti-free speech admins. Also learn how to tell someone what they did wrong instead of being keyboard cowards who can't articulate their own brain absent decisions. And there we go. Please don't. You know what I should do? I should reply to that email and send them an appeal. Be like, hey, can I get back on here now that it's been exposed that your site is bleeding out is is bleeding out users? You know what? I'm gonna do that. Let me go over here. All right, let me go here. Okay, Twitter, my desktop web browser, description of problem, your email. Are you human? What the hell? All right, let's go into the. Remember, all this is being done just to play with them because send me some old generic crap and then tell me what I can and can't say afterward. It's crazy. Describe the nature of your appeal. Let's see. I'm just going to put suspended as the description. Oh, they want me to identify the pieces of this vehicle. I really hate that. Like, if the person can tell you all this information about themselves, why do they need to? Oh, whatever. These places are all weird. Oh, they like to be obnoxious with these little pictures. Oh, wow. Hey, that in that description, they actually were. I was supposed to put, the reason. You know what? I even feel bad because they like to be stupid, so I'll be stupid right with them. We can go down that same path of lack of productivity. Doesn't really matter to me because, again, they can't do anything else. You already suspended me. What are you gonna do? You blew your load too quickly. You have no negotiating powers. But listen, I'm upset. I fully am convinced now I was targeted as a result of my anti neoliberal belief system. I will continue to believe that. I don't care what they say, because when I asked them and tried to be fair and get their side of the story, they sent me some generic garbage that didn't answer a damn thing. So thank you for checking us out. I want the 4 people that are in here to share this, whether on some other website or with people that that, I don't know, are interested in Twitter, whatever, just with anyone that you can think would be interested in figuring this out. But I appreciate those who came, and it sucks. But they're not the only game in town, so I'll just figure out a way to promote my stuff on other platforms. Have a good rest of your day.